you turn on your computer, you should be brought to a screen like the one shown here. This screen is called the desktop. The pointer in the middle of the screen is controlled by your mouse. The picture of the apple and the words listed across the top of your screen are called a menu bar. If you move your pointer over one of these words and hold the button down on your mouse, a menu of choices will appear. If you continue to hold the mouse button down and move down this list, certain choices will become dark. That's because those choices are available to you. If you wanted to select one of these choices, you would let go of your mouse button when it became dark, and then this choice would be selected. Choices listed in gray are not available currently. If we don't want to select anything in this menu, we simply drag the pointer off the menu and then let go of the mouse button. In the upper right-hand corner of our screen is our hard disk. Put the pointer over the hard disk and click twice on the mouse button. We will open the hard disk window. This is called a window because it shows us the contents of our hard disk. The hard disk is where all of our information is stored. The items shown on this hard disk are folders. Folders help to organize the information on your computer. Now, if we want to close the hard disk window, we can go to our File menu and choose Close Window. This causes the window to close. To reopen the hard disk window, we simply drag the pointer over the hard disk and click twice on our mouse button. Throughout this video, we'll be zooming in on different areas of the screen to make them easier to see. This will not happen on your computer. The box in the upper left-hand corner circled here is known as the Close box. Clicking once in the Close box causes the window to close. This is the same as choosing Close Window from under the File menu. You'll find that there are many different ways to do things on your computer, and it's best to do things the way you feel most comfortable. Now we'll reopen the hard disk and take a look at some of the other parts of a window. The box in the upper right-hand corner of the window is called the Zoom box. It's called this because clicking once in it causes the window to zoom to a different shape. This is important because sometimes you may want your window smaller so you can see other items on your screen. Now let's take a look at how the Zoom box works. If we click once in the Zoom box, the window will zoom to a smaller shape, showing only the 4 items available in the window. If we click again in the Zoom box, the window will zoom to its original shape. Sometimes you may want to choose the exact shape you want your window to be. In order to do this, you would need to use the box located in the bottom right-hand corner of the window called the Resize box. To use the Resize box, position your pointer over the box and click and hold the mouse button down. Then, while holding the button down, drag the mouse until you get a new window size and let go of the button. Notice that the bars at the bottom and the right of the window now look a little different. The bars located at the bottom and right of a window are known as scroll bars. Scroll bars allow us to move so that we can see everything inside a window. A scroll bar is broken down into different parts. The items circled here are known as scroll arrows. These 2 boxes are known as scroll boxes. Now let's take a look at the way a scroll bar works. Clicking on a scroll arrow causes the window to scroll downwards. Notice that the scroll box moved to the bottom of the scroll bar, indicating that we are at the bottom of that window. As we click on each scroll arrow, the window moves in the appropriate direction. You can also click and hold directly on a scroll box and move it to a desired location. This is a great way of moving quickly through a large window of items. Scroll bars will be used throughout the SoftFoot II program, so be sure that you're familiar with their use. Now let's move the window back to its original size and take a look at another item inside the window. Sometimes you may want to change the position of a window so that you can see other items on your screen. In order to move a window, you need to use the bar that goes across the top of the window. This bar is called the title bar because it contains the title of the window inside of it. Directly below the title bar is information that relates to this window, including the number of items in the window and the current size of the hard disk. To move the window, we click and hold inside the title bar and drag the window to a new position. Moving windows can also be very helpful when you have more than one window open. Now if we open the SoftFoot II folder by clicking twice on it, the window for this folder will appear. If we move the window down, we can see better what's behind the window. In this case, the hard disk window. The SoftFoot II folder is now the active window. If we click once on the title bar for the hard disk, it becomes the active window. Now we click on the SoftFoot II folder window, make it active, and close the window by clicking once in the close box. Then we can close the hard disk window by clicking in its close box. Up to this point, we've been reviewing the way the computer works. Now let's take a look at how we get into the SoftFoot II program. First, we open the hard disk window by clicking twice on it. Then we open the SoftFoot II folder by clicking twice on it, and then we click twice on the SoftFoot II program. This is what is known as launching a program. SoftFoot is a password-protected program. In other words, you will need to use a password in order to get into the program. When you launch the SoftFoot II program, this box should appear asking you for your password. If your name is listed in the box here, simply click once on it, then type in your password. Notice that the characters appear as padlocks so that other people cannot steal your password. After you have entered your password, click once on the button labeled OK. If you have entered the password correctly, SoftFoot should allow you into the program. Passwords can also be used to control access levels within the program. The screen shown here is known as the SoftFoot II banner screen. Your screen may look different. SoftFoot is a menu-driven program. In other words, we use menus to do things within the SoftFoot program. The first thing we'll be doing is entering a patient. In order to enter a patient, we first go to the patient menu and then decide which item we'll be using. In this case, we'll be selecting Insert Patient so that we can put a new patient into the computer. The number shown here is the account number for the patient. This number is usually automatically assigned by the computer and gives you another way to reference the patient. The flashing black line is our cursor. Whatever text we type will appear where the cursor is. First, we enter in the last name of the patient. Notice that we do not need to capitalize. Then we push either the tab or return key and moves us on to the next field. As we move on to the next field, each letter is automatically capitalized. When we enter the street address, we do not need to capitalize, but we do need to use our spacing and punctuation just as we would on an envelope. After we enter the street address, we skip city and state and go directly to the zip code field. This is because SoftFoot learns zip codes and puts the correct city and state in automatically. If we use a zip code that SoftFoot does not recognize, a dialog box will appear. A dialog box is the way the computer asks you, the user, a question. In this case, it's asking us if we want to enter the zip code permanently into the computer. Since we want to add this zip code, we'll click once on the OK button. This will bring us to a blank zip code entry screen. The only two fields that we need to fill out here are the city and the state. Now we just type in the name of the city, push our tab or return key, then type in the two-letter state abbreviation, and use our cursor to click the OK button on the right here. Clicking OK will bring us back to the patient entry screen. Notice that the correct city and state are automatically filled in now. Now we're in the home phone number field. Because SoftFoot allows us to program in a default area code, we only need to enter in the 7 numbers of the phone number, and then push our tab or return key. In this case, our default area code is 609. When we push the tab or return key, 609 is put into the area code position. If the area code is different than the default area code, simply type in the new area code in the correct position. After you're done entering the number, hit the tab or return key. The next field is where the patient's birth date is entered. You need to separate the month, day, and year using either a slash, a dash, or a space. After we have entered the birth date and hit the tab or return key, the age of the patient appears to the right. The next field is used to enter the patient's Social Security number. Keep in mind this is not where you enter in the insurance ID number. Now we need to enter in the name of the facility where the patient is usually seen. To see a list of the facilities that are already available in the computer, we enter what is known as the wildcard symbol in the facility field. To enter the wildcard symbol, hold down your Shift key and type the number 2. Now when we hit the tab or return key, a window will appear showing us all of the facilities that are currently available. If the facility we want is listed here, we simply click twice on it to select it. Now this facility will appear in the facility field. Now we need to enter in the name of the patient's medical doctor. In order to see a list of the medical doctors, we could use the wildcard here like we did in the facility field. Another way of bringing up the list is to click once on the black box where it says medical doctor. Because clicking on this box causes this action to happen, this box is known as an active object. If we want to select one of these doctors, we would simply click twice on the doctor's name like we did in the facility field. If the doctor that we want is not listed here, we click once in the close box, closing the window, and then enter the name of the new doctor. Then when we push the tab or return key, a dialog box will appear asking us if we wish to enter this doctor permanently into the computer. Notice that we only entered the last name of the medical doctor here. This is because after we click the OK button, we'll be able to enter the rest of the information for this doctor. If we did not wish to enter any information for this doctor, we'd simply click the Cancel button. By entering the information in these fields, we'll be able to go back later and print out custom mailing labels or write merged letters to this doctor. Keep in mind that you don't have to enter information here. This is optional. Entering this information will also allow you to print out a list of all your patient's medical doctors with their phone numbers. One field which most people will fill out is the unique physician identification number shown here. Many states require this number for insurance billing purposes. The referral type box shown here is used to indicate how this patient was referred to you. The reason it is shown on the doctor entry screen is because referrals and doctors are stored in the same file. In this case, we'll just leave the referral type as doctor and click the OK button because we're finished with this screen. After we click the OK button, we're brought to the Copy MD to Treatment Entry field. This is located to the right of the Medical Doctor field. What this allows us to do is copy information for the medical doctor directly to the treatment entry screen so that this information is available for billing purposes. To remove the X from the box, we can either click on the box or we can hit our space bar on our keyboard. This will turn the option on and off. To move to the next field, we hit the tab or return key. The referred by field is where we indicate how the patient was referred to the practice. You want to be as specific as you can in this field so that you're able to track how your patients find out about your office. Since we entered the name of a newspaper that the computer did not recognize, it asks us if we wish to enter it. Since we don't really need to put any additional information about this newspaper into the computer, we simply go down here and click on Advertisement as the referral type. Then we click OK, bringing us back to the main patient entry screen. The next field, labeled Date First Seen, is where we tell the computer when the patient was first seen at our office. If we wish to leave it on the default date, which is today's date, we simply hit the tab or return key. The next field is where we indicate the gender of the patient. Again, we can either click on the choice we desire or use the space bar on our keyboard to switch back and forth between the two choices. The Accept Assignment field is where we indicate if we accept the assigned cost to the insurance company for this patient. Again, we can either click on the correct choice or use the spacebar to switch back between the two. Now we need to enter the insurance information for this patient. In order to do this, we click once on the Add Insurance Company button. Notice that currently there are no insurance companies listed in this box. This is the insurance company entry screen. The first field shown here is where we enter the name of the insurance company. In order to see a list of the insurance companies, we can again use the wildcard symbol, which is brought up by holding down the Shift key and typing a 2. When we push our Tab or Return key, a window of the available insurance companies appears. Again, if the insurance company we want is listed here, we simply click twice on it. Notice that the cities for the insurance companies are listed here, making our selection easier. We can also bring up a list of the insurance companies by clicking on the black box where the word insurance company appears. In this case, this box is an active object. If we close this window, we can also bring up the insurance company by typing the name of the insurance company exactly as it appears on the list. If we were to only type a few letters of the insurance company name and hit return, a list would appear showing all the names of the insurance companies that began with those letters. The next field is for the insured ID number. We don't need to enter any information in the group number and group name fields because we don't have any information for those fields. The next field is called Insured Last. This is where we enter the last name of the person whose insurance it is. If the patient is the policyholder, we simply click on the word self in this box and the correct information will appear in the rest of the fields. Notice that the word self appears where it says insured last, the gender is switched to the correct position, and the birth date field also shows the correct information. Now let's take a look at the rest of the fields on the screen. The next two fields on the screen, Employer School and 10D Override, are only necessary to fill out if this information is required by your insurance company. When we go to the Insurance Code field, a window listing the different types of insurance codes in the computer appears automatically. Again, if we wanted to select one of these choices, we'd simply click twice on it. Notice that the scroll bar on the right of this window is darkened, indicating that there are more choices in this window than are currently shown. Now the MP abbreviation shows in the Insurance Code field. If we are done on the screen, we click the OK button. Doing this will bring us back to the main patient entry screen. If we need to make any changes to the insurance company that we just entered, we only need to click the Edit Insurance Company button shown here, and then make any changes required on the patient insurance entry screen. In this case, we're changing the insurance ID number. Then when we click OK, the new insurance information will be updated. In order to enter the patient's secondary insurance, we simply click the Add Insurance Company button again. If we enter the name of an insurance company that the computer does not recognize, a dialog box will appear asking if we wish to enter this new insurance company. In this way, we'll be able to enter all the information that relates to this specific insurance company. Always be careful, though, that you don't enter the same insurance company with different names. This is a blank insurance company entry screen. Again, we simply type in the address and phone number like we did on the other screens. The second address line can be used to enter additional address information, such as suite numbers or departments. If you look towards the bottom of the screen, you may notice that the form number field looks different than other fields we've seen so far. There's a slight shadow behind and on the side of this box. This field is what is known as a pop-up menu. It's called a pop-up menu because when we click and hold on the field, a list of different choices will appear. Pop-up fields are located throughout the SoftFoot program. Now let's take a look at how one works. First, we need to take our pointer and click and hold where the words New HICFA appear. You will need to use your mouse in order to select something from a pop-up field. Then you continue to hold the button down on your mouse and move through the list. When we get to the bottom of the list, we'll begin to scroll through the rest of the list. In order to make a selection, We simply highlight the correct form and then let go of our mouse button. The letters in parentheses indicate what type of printer you're printing to. DW indicates the Hewlett-Packard desk writer. LW indicates a type of laser writer. The yellow highlighted field here and the box to the right of it are used to indicate patient's copayments. Selecting per visit fee indicates a fixed fee for each office visit. Selecting percentage of fee indicates the patient pays a percentage of the total bill. If we enter a 5 here and select per visit fee, we are saying that the patient is required to pay a $5 per visit fee. The next field is where we enter the default insurance type for this insurance company. Again, we simply click twice on the desired choice. This information is used when claims are sent electronically. Notice that an F now appears in the insurance type field. Now we need to select the default insurance code. The insurance code is also used for electronic claim processing. Now let's take a look at the right half. The Notes button allows us to enter notes about this particular insurance company. Keep in mind, information that we enter here relates to the insurance company, not to the individual patient. The information you enter here is for your own use and will not appear on any correspondence to the insurance company. To enter information, just start typing. What you type will appear. This type of field is known as a text field because a text field is a place where we store text. After we have finished entering our note, we simply take our mouse and click once on the return button. Doing this will bring us back to the insurance entry screen. Notice that there is now a black dot next to the word Notes on the Notes button. This indicates that there are notes in the field. If we wanted to see these notes, we'd simply click once on the Notes button. If we're finished entering information on the screen, we click once on the OK button. This will bring us back to the patient insurance entry screen. Now we need to finish entering the information that relates to this specific patient. Many times the insurance ID number will be based on the patient's Social Security number. To bring up the Social Security number, simply click once on the black box labeled ID number. Then type any letter you need to as shown. In this case, the patient does have a group number, so we'll enter it here. In this instance, the patient's spouse is the policyholder. First, we'll need to enter in the patient's spouse's last name and first name. For the address, we only need to enter the word same on the insured street line. Then, using our mouse, we need to indicate that this is the patient's spouse's information by clicking on the word spouse in the relation to insured box on the right. Then we select the correct gender here, and if we have the information, we can also put in the insured's birth date. The rest of the information is simply entered as it was on the previous insurance screen. Remember, the employer school information is optional. Again, when we enter the insured code field, a window automatically appears with those choices listed. Now all we need to do is click the OK button and go back to the main patient entry screen. You'll notice that both of our insurance companies are listed in the insurance box in the order in which they were entered. The first insurance entered is the primary insurance and the second is the secondary. Now let's take a look at the class findings feature. If your insurance companies do not require class findings, you will not need to use this feature. If you do use class findings, simply click on the correct buttons for this patient, or type any class findings you wish in this box above. There are many different features in SoftFoot that control class findings. You may wish to contact SoftEasy support for further information. The next button we're going to take a look at is the Patient Notes button. Just like the notes for the insurance company, clicking on this button brings us to a text field. This is where we can enter any notes that relate to this specific patient. Keep in mind these notes will not appear on any patient correspondence. This is a good place to put patient allergies. Clicking the Go Back button brings us back to the main patient entry screen. The last part of the patient entry screen we'll be looking at is the More Info screen. This is the screen we use to enter more information about this patient. The alternate responsible billing information is where we enter an address where we can send bills and statement that is different than the patient's address. An example of this would be if we need to send bills to a patient's power of attorney. Do not enter anything here if you only want to bill the patient's normal address from the previous screen. The statement comment field allows us to enter a comment that will appear on all this patient's billing statements. Sometimes this field will be used if special payment arrangements have been made with the patient. Keep in mind that this comment will appear in statements only for this patient. There's another place in the program where we enter comments that we wish to appear on everyone's statements. These comments are optional. The last treatment date field automatically updates when treatments are entered in the computer. The next treatment date is optional and can be entered when you enter in a treatment. The salutation field is where we can enter in a salutation for the patient. In this way, the salutation will appear before the patient's name on any correspondence going directly to the patient. This information will not be sent to insurance companies. The marital status and employment status fields are both pop-up menus. Selecting the correct choice here enables the correct box to be selected on the insurance form. Again, we simply click and hold on the field, then move the mouse until the correct item is selected and let go of the mouse button. We'll do the same thing here for the employment status button. When we're finished entering information on the screen, we simply take our mouse up and click once on the Go Back button. This brings us back to the main patient entry screen. After we are finished entering in the information for the patient, we have three choices of buttons for what we want to do next. Clicking once on the OK button brings us back to the SoftFoot II banner screen. Clicking once on the OK and Next button enters the information and brings us to a blank patient entry screen where we can enter a new patient. Clicking the OK and Treatment button brings us to a treatment entry screen where we can enter in a new treatment for this patient. We're going to select the OK button and go back to the banner screen. That's how you enter a patient into the SoftFoot program. Now if we want to go back to that screen, we go to the Patient menu and select the Edit Patient feature. This will bring us to a patient search screen. In order to access this record, we need to enter in a single piece of information here. It does have to be a complete piece of information. In this case, we'll enter in the patient's last name. If we don't know the whole last name, we can type in the wildcard at the end of the letters we do know. This will enable us to bring up a list of all patients whose names begin with the letters L-O-N-A. Now when we click the OK button, this list should appear. To choose one of the items from this list, simply click once on the item and then go down and click the OK button at the bottom of the screen. If we wish to select all records here, we'd click once on the Select All button. Now if we needed to, we can make any changes to this screen and then click the OK button. In this case, we're going to change the birth date of the patient. Clicking OK will bring us back to the SoftFoot II banner screen. Now let's take a review of the patient entry screen. The account number is the patient's unique account number. This is where we enter in the information for the patient's name. This is where we enter in the address information for the patient. The birth date and the age appear here. This is where we enter the patient's social security number, not their insurance ID. We enter the facility where the patient is usually seen here. We enter the patient's medical doctor and how they were referred to the practice here. The date first seen is entered here, with the default date being today's date. And the last two fields are used to indicate the patient's gender and whether or not we accept insurance assignment. This button adds new insurance information, this one changes existing information, and this one removes insurance information entirely. The Notes button allows us to add general patient notes. The more In order to enter a treatment from the SoftFoot II banner screen, The Bill To box shown here determines who the claim is going to be sent to. The Processing Method box shown here determines how this claim will be processed. The payment information shown here is only entered if the patient makes a copayment at time of service. And the recall field is used to determine when the patient will be seen again. The OK button enters this treatment and moves us on to the banner screen. And the OK Next button would allow you to enter in a new treatment. Now let's see how we enter payments into the system. In order to enter a payment, we go to the Payment menu and select Insert Payment. Doing this will bring us to a blank payment entry screen. Unlike the other fields we've seen so far, the first field in this screen is for entering the payment date. Second field is for the check number, the third for the bank number, and the fourth field will be where we enter in the name of the insurance company that the payment was received from. It's not till we get down to the fifth field that we actually get to the patient's information. Now notice that this field has a pop-up menu. You can access this patient by any of the 5 choices listed here. To change the way you access it, simply highlight it and then let go on the proper one. Now if we enter the patient's account number and hit the tab or return key, a list of this patient's outstanding claims will appear. Now we must choose which of these claims we wish to apply a payment to. To choose a claim, we click once on the claim, then click the OK button located at the bottom of the screen. You must apply payments directly against the claim that they relate to. Now we are moved to the Total Approved Amount field for this particular claim. Notice that the claims are listed by their procedure codes and their charge amounts and amount dues. If the approved amount is different than the one shown on our explanation of benefits, we would simply enter the new amount here. If we're happy with the amount shown, we hit the tab or return key and move to the next field. This will bring us to the Amount Paid field. Again, if the amount shown is correct, we simply move to the next field, the Adjustment field. In this case, the adjustment is the difference between the amount allowed by the insurance company and the amount we had charged originally. We are adjusting this amount off because we accept the insurance company assignment. The Payment Type field and the Adjustment Type field at the top of the screen are pop-up menus. If the payment received was a check, we can leave it on that particular field. This is also the case with the adjustment types. Because we accepted assignment, this is an assigned adjustment. At the bottom of the screen, we have our Bill To box and our Processing Method box, just like the ones shown on the treatment entry screen. They also work in the same way. Notice that on the Bill To box, we've switched down to the secondary insurance. This is because we've already received our payment from the primary insurance. If we wish to change who is being billed, we simply use our mouse to select one of the different items here. You can also change the processing method here. Notice that the Notes button at the bottom of this screen has a black dot next to it. If we click on it, we can see our patient notes that we entered on the patient entry screen. We can also modify these notes here. The Comments button allows us to enter in comments that will appear on the patient's statements or bills. There's also a field for Office Comment, which is an inter-office comment for your eyes only. Clicking the OK and Next button will bring us to a blank payment entry screen with the same insurance information. Clicking the OK button brings us back to the banner screen. Now let's do a quick review of the payment screen. This is the date the payment was received. Here's the information about the payment. This is where we enter the insurance company the payment was received from. And this is where we can choose how we want to bring up the information for this patient. The procedure codes for the treatment are listed here. The charges for those codes are listed here. The amounts still owed on these particular codes are listed here. The approved amount for these codes are shown here. The amount paid for each code is shown here. All the adjustments are shown here. And the remaining balance is shown over here. The box in the bottom right-hand corner shows all the information about this particular claim. This is our processing method box, just like the one on treatment entry. And this is our Bill To box, where we determine where this claim is going after we've entered the payment. This is where we choose what type of payment we've received. Here's where we select what type of adjustment. And of course we click the OK button when we're finished on this screen. Again, use OK and Next when you're entering multiple payments from an EOMB. The final screen we'll be looking at today is the Patient Account screen. To access the Patient Account screen, go to your Patient menu and select Patient Account. The Patient Account screen can be thought of as the patient's ledger card on the computer, with all the information that relates to the patient available. When you choose patient account, you must indicate to the computer which patient we want to bring up. You can do this either with the patient's account number or their last name. Once you've entered the correct information, click the OK button. As you can see, the rectangle in the center of this screen lists all of the treatments that this patient has had. It shows their claim number, date, charge, amount paid, the amount adjusted, the balance, the status of the claim, the payment date, and the bill date. To print any of these treatments, simply click on one of the treatments, then click the Print Treatment button. Then you decide who you want to bill this to, and click the OK button. If you don't wish to print the treatment, just click the Cancel button. The Print Statement OS button allows you to print up a statement showing all of this patient's outstanding claims. Now, if we wish to get detail on a particular claim, we click the Detail button. This will bring us to a screen detailing all the information for the claim that was highlighted in the box shown above. Notice that all the information that relates to this claim is listed here, including the payment information that we just entered. This would be the screen you'd go to if you ever had a question about a particular claim. This screen is for viewing only. The only things that you can change here are the bill to status and the processing method. We can also access the patient information, patient notes, class findings, or statement comments from this screen. Notice that the procedure descriptions are listed on this screen. The diagnosis codes are also shown here. Now, if we wanted to change the bill to status from this screen, simply take your mouse and click on the different choices listed here. The same thing can be done in the processing method box. When we're finished on the screen, we click the OK button, going back to the patient account screen. The SEC and PRI in the status field indicate secondary and primary. This indicates where these claims are. The Display Payments button allows us to look at all of the payments that have been posted against the patient's account. This is a handy way to locate misplaced payments, and it's very easy to print out a list of this for the patient's records. If we want to go to the patient information screen, we simply click the Patient Info button here. To go back to the patient account, click the OK button. When you're finished with the patient account screen, simply click the Done button. This will bring you back to the SoftFoot II banner screen. Now let's review the patient account screen. This is where the patient's claims are listed. The Display Payments button displays all of the payments posted against the patient's account. The Print Treatment button allows you to get a printout of any of the claims listed above. The Sort buttons allow you to sort the claims listed above in different order. This button allows you to print a statement of all the patient's outstanding claims. The Print Full Statement button allows you to print up a statement showing all of the patient's claims and payments. Clicking the Patient Info button brings you back to the patient information screen. The Detail button allows you to get detail about a specific claim. And clicking the Done button brings you back to the SoftFoot II banner screen. Now we're finished with your tour of the 4 basic parts of the SoftFoot II program. To exit the program, go to your File menu and select Quit. Choosing Quit will take us out of the SoftFoot II program and back to the desktop of the computer. Then we can close the SoftFoot II folder by clicking once in the Close box in the upper left-hand corner of the window, and we can also close the hard disk window by clicking in its Close box. To turn off the computer, we go to the Special menu and select Shut Down.